This article is about the demographic features of the population of El Salvador, including population density, ethnicity, education level, health of the populace, economic status, religious affiliations and other aspects of the population. El Salvador's population numbers 6,377,358. Ethnically, 86.3% of Salvadorans are mixed. Another 12.7% is of pure European descent. Other 0.23% are pure indigenous descent. 0.13% black people and others 0.64%. Population. El Salvador's population was 6,377,358 in 2015, compared to 2,200,000 in 1950. In 2010, the percentage of the population below the age of 15 was 32.1%. 61% were between 15 and 65 years of age, while 6.9% were 65 years or older. Emigration. The migration rate accelerated during the period of 1979 to 1981. This marked the beginning of the civil unrest and the spread of political killings. The total impact of civil wars, dictatorships and socio-economics drove over 1 million Salvadorans into the United States. Guatemala is the second country that hosts more Salvadorans behind the United States. Approximately 110,000 Salvadorans according to the National Census of 2010. In addition, small Salvadoran communities sprung up in Canada, Australia, Belize, Panama, Costa Rica, Italy, and Sweden since the migration trend began in the early 1970s. The 2010 U.S. Census counted 1,648,968 Salvadorans in the United States, up from 655,165 in 2000. Ethnic groups. White Salvadorans. 12.7% of Salvadorans are white. This population is mostly made up of ethnically Spanish people, while there are also Salvadorans of French, German, Swiss, English, Irish, and Italian descent. In northern departments like the Quetzaltenango department, it is well known that residents in the area are of pure Spanish descent, settling in the region that is now Quetzaltenango in the late 18th century. The governor of San Salvador, Francisco Luis Hector de Carondelet, ordered families from northern Spain to settle the area to compensate for the lack of indigenous people to work the land. So it isn't uncommon to see people with blonde hair, fair skin, and blue or green eyes in municipalities like Dulce Nombre de Maria, La Palma, and El Pital. There are a significant population who is of Arab descent, mostly from Palestine, but also from Lebanon. Salvadorans of Palestinian descent numbered around 70,000 individuals, while Salvadorans of Lebanese descent is around 25,000. There is also a small community of Jews who came to El Salvador from France, Germany, Morocco, Tunisia, and Turkey. Mestizo Salvadorans. 86.3% of the population are mestizo, having mixed indigenous and European ancestry. In the mestizo population, Salvadorans who are racially European, especially Mediterranean, as well as Afro-Salvadoran, and the indigenous people in El Salvador who do not speak indigenous languages or have an indigenous culture, all identify themselves as being culturally mestizo. Indigenous Salvadorans. According to the Salvadoran government, about 0.23% of the population are of full indigenous origin. There are small populations of Cacao people in the Morazan department and a few Chortí people live in the department of Ajuchipan, near the border of Guatemala. The number of indigenous people in El Salvador have been criticized by indigenous organizations and academics. academics as too small and accuse the government of denying the existence of indigenous Salvadorans in the country. According to the National Salvadoran Indigenous Coordination Council and CONCULTURA, approximately 600,000 or 10% of Salvadorian peoples are indigenous. Nonetheless, very few Amerindians have retained their customs and traditions, having over time assimilated into the dominant Mestizo Spanish culture. The low numbers of indigenous people may be partly explained by historically high rates of Old World diseases, absorption into the Mestizo population, as well as mass murder during the 1932 Salvadoran peasant uprising, which saw up to 30,000 peasants killed in a short period of time. Many authors note that since La Matanza, the indigenous in El Salvador have been very reluctant to describe themselves as such, to wear indigenous dress or be seen to be taking part in any cultural activities or customs that might be understood as indigenous. Departments and cities in the country with notable indigenous populations include Sonzonate, Cacaopera, and Panchamalco. In the department of San Salvador, languages. Spanish is the language spoken by virtually all inhabitants. Spanish, Salvadoran Sign Language, and Popule. Immigrant languages include Chinese, Turkish, Poomam, and American Sign Language. Literacy definition: age 10 and over can read and write. Total: 95.0%. Male: 94.4%. Female: 95.5%. Urban: 97.2%. Rural: 91.8%. Religion: Catholicism is the majority religion in El Salvador at 57.1%. Protestant groups comprise 21.2% of the population. Individual groups that constitute less than 5% of the population include Jehovah's Witnesses 1.9% and Latter-day Saints 0.7%. A sizable 16.8% population claim no religious affiliation in El Salvador. Vital statistics. UN estimates. The Population Department of the United Nations prepared the following estimates. Registered data: structure of the population, structure of the population, structure of the population. Gallery.